in playing the baritone. It was not anything I ever wanted to do, but at that point, that band, Woody Herman's band, they were touring 50 weeks a year. They were on the road playing 6 nights a week with 2 weeks off. So it was like, wow, that was a pretty good situation to go into and learn how to play. So that would have been my jazz education. Because this didn't exist when I was young. There was nowhere to study jazz in the United States at that point. So I agreed. I said, yeah, okay, I'll try it. So I had 2 weeks to buy a baritone, buy a mouthpiece, get a bunch of reeds, and memorize the baritone part for Four Brothers and Early Autumn, which are the 2 tunes that Woody's band started every night with, out front, by memory. So I'm like, okay, I have 2 weeks to do this. So I got a Yamaha student model baritone, kind of crappy, but stock mouthpiece, box of reeds, and took the train and met the band in Connecticut, and took out my baritone, and I sit down, and I'm like, man, this is really crazy dream, weird thing happening. And I turn around and I introduce myself. I said, hi, my name is Gary Smulyan. And he turns around and says, hi, my name is Joe Lovano. So it was a band with Joe Lovano. Mark Johnson was playing bass, who was auditioning for Bill Evans. At that point, he was practicing and trying to. So he got the gig with Bill Evans. After a couple of months, John Riley was playing drums. Dave Lalama, Ralph Sulama's brother was on piano. So it was really an incredible band, So, and that was it. That was a turning point for me. I mean, I stayed there for 2 years. Never graduated school, so I'm a proud owner of a high school diploma. Never graduated college. Never went back. I was 4 credits away. Both of my parents were school teachers, so they were pissed at me for their whole lives. So I made a lot of kids. But that was a funny decision because that was life changing. It was like I went in a completely opposite direction, and not a direction that I was looking for or wanted it or anything like that. But I think because of playing the baritone, a lot of other opportunities came up as a result of that, because there just weren't a lot of us, a lot more alto players, a lot more tenor players, and that's where I met Dick. So all of these confluences you're going to see in your life just by playing. You don't know who's going to hear you. You never know who's going to be in the audience. You never know who you're going to meet. You just never know. So, at least my career has been a lot of just being in the right place at the right time, with seeing the right people, meeting the right people, and the next thing happens. That's really been, none of it was planned. None of it was deliberate. None of it was by design. None of it was anything I never had any kind of career plan. It was just, my plan was just to play as good as I can and get better, and hopefully it will line up and things will happen. And that, that's generally kind of how it happens. So just by chance, Woody Herman's band and Thad and Mel's band, Thad Jones, Mel Lewis's band, we were on the same tour in Europe in 1978. So we were on the road together, playing the same festivals. So we played a set, and then Thad and Mel's band played a set, and that was that's where I met Dick, and John Mosca and Rich Perry, and Mel, and I think Ray Drummond was playing bass, or Rufus Reed, and Harold Danko. So I met all these folks just by being on the same festival. So met Mel Lewis on these gigs, and he said, when you come back to New York, give me a call, you could start to sub. And so then it was like, then it just things just took off. The baritone player and Gary Prebeck left, so I joined Mel Lewis's band right after leaving Woody's band. So I just became a baritone player by accident, not by any desire or want. So, but that could happen. You just never know. So, I guess the moral of that story is just don't be afraid, take chances, do different kind of gigs, open yourself up, be open, be receptive to things in the universe. When things come to you, do it, just try it. You just don't know what's going to happen. So it's been it's just been like that, just moving around, and just by trying the baritone, my whole life changed. So that's life. Life's not a straight line.
No, it's not. I guess my career started out in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I moved from Des Moines, Iowa, up there because I knew that there would be more work, and I knew I would get inspired in different ways, because it's just compared to a town of 250,000 was a town of 2 million. So I needed to go where there was actual players that were a lot better than me. And so I chose there, and then I lived there for about 5 years, and that's where I learned how to sight read. I learned how to interpret. I learned how to double. I learned how to be a better reader, just be a better musician. And then after that, I was offered, there was a tenor, alto player that was playing lead alto in the University of Minnesota band. And I said, well, who's the guest artist? He said, Thad Jones. And I said, wow, that must be incredible. And so he said Thad had asked him to move to New York and to play with the band. And I said, well, you're gonna do it, right? He says, no, I'm not gonna do it. You're gonna do it, because I don't feel ready yet. I don't feel ready financially. I don't feel ready musically and experience-wise. He says, you have much more experience than I did. And I did at that time, but I couldn't believe how he missed that golden opportunity to play with somebody like Thad Jones, just because he just felt he wasn't ready yet. So I said, well, you're never gonna get ready. You just gotta do it. And so there was a phone number that they gave me to call, and it was supposed to be Thad and Teaneck. So I called the number, and I thought it was gonna be a joke. I thought a lot of people were gonna be laughing at the other end. Oh, he fell for it again, this guy from Iowa. They're so gullible. So I called the number up. This huge low voice says, yes, well, this is Thad Jones. Who is this? And I said, well, my name is Dick Oatts. He says, oh yeah, Randy told me all about you. When can you come out and play with us? I went, wait a minute, it's not supposed to be that easy. So, and I didn't hear any laughing on the other end, so I figured, well, this isn't a joke. This is the real Thad Jones I'm talking to. So I said, how fast can you move out? I said, well, how about 2 weeks? He says, okay, yeah. Just make sure you have your tenor, your flute, and your clarinet. And I'll see you at the Vanguard. And I said, wow. So I went to the Vanguard, and I ran into Mike. Remember Mike, the bartender? Salty.
And Willie.
No, that was before. Mike was after. Mike was before Willie. So he says, what are you doing here so early? And I said, well, I was told to come here. He says, well, just put that ugly green suitcase in the liquor cabinet and just stay out of my way. So I said, okay. So I go into the kitchen, and there was a guy there who was in dashiki. And he started saying, what's your name? I said, oh, my name is Dick Oatts. I went to shake his hand and says, I've never heard of you. What do you think you're doing here? I said, well, I was told to come here because I'm playing with Thad Jones tonight, Mel Lewis. He says, who says? I said, well, Thad did. He says, great. Another novice. I mean, I couldn't have got a more New York attitude from Mel Lewis than anybody. So he says, who have you played with? I said, that's some people from the Midwest. He says, I don't know anybody from the Midwest. What do you think you're doing here? So I said, well, I'm trying to feel it out. I don't know. And so I was so green and novice, I had no clue what to think of this guy.
So this is also takes a lot of courage, right? To like go to a place you've never been, just because, you know, I mean, it's Thad Jones, of course. But you know, you're like really putting yourself in a very vulnerable kind of situation. Going to a place you don't know anybody, you know, and then the first person you meet is Mel Lewis, who's saying, "What the hell are you doing here?" You know, like, what makes you think that you can? Why are you here? You know, like that. It's like, whoa. It's like, well, you know, it's like your first greeting to a gig is like someone asks you why you're there. What are you doing here? Like, well, you know, it's kind of make you want to just walk out the door with your suitcase and just go home.
Well, it's
You know,
like facing Don Rickles every time you go anywhere.
I don't know who Don Rickles is.
Oh, well, he was a very insulting
He
comedian.
was an insult comic.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So after Mel basically says, well, can you solo? Don't tell me just a little bit either. Either you can play or you can't. I don't want to know anybody about a little this or a little that. Because, you know, I went out there and I said, well, I didn't want to show that I had some kind of an ego. Because I wasn't even about that. But I think he brought the ego out in me. And I didn't really realize just how he was bringing it out, and I was clueless about that because I just was always like, well, don't speak too much about yourself. Always include the people around you. So by that time, everybody started coming in, and then Thad came in. He says, "Are you Dick Oatts?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, welcome to Vanguard. Nice to meet you." And so I got to meet him, and then after that first night I played, it went really well. I was like really happy. I was actually able to read Cherry Juice, fingers some of the solis, and all the stuff that I had to read. So it worked out. It was like like a Cinderella story. Like it really worked out nice. I mean, I was happy with the way it went. And at the end of the night, Dad said, "Don't bring your horn next week, but come down anyway, and you'll be my guest." I said, "Man, my first night in New York, and I'm already Thad's guest." I said, "I'm down. I'm all for it." So then I went down, and then he said, at the end of the night, he says, "Do you have a passport?" I go, "Passport? I didn't know what a passport was." He said, "You gotta have a passport to leave the country." And I said, "Well, who am I leaving the country with?" And he said, "Well, hopefully us." And I went, "Wow." Then the light, it just became a kind of, and then I remember Earl Gardner said, "Dad, look at how skinny he is. He's 120 pounds. He's gonna die on the road. He's gonna be underfed, undernourished. You're gonna kill this guy. You don't want him on your conscience." So I went down and got my passport, and that took forever in New York. And so then I just kind of like, it's like Gary said, you just kind of like, you don't plan this stuff. It plans you, kind of. So like I never really thought that I'd be a lead alto player, but then Dad said, "Oatts, I want you to step up to lead alto." He says, "That's Jerry." He said, "Well, Jerry's not going to be here anymore, so you're it." And I said, "Really? I don't really want to do that." He says, "Well, you have no choice. It's either that or the door. So you're either going to get fired or you just step up." And so.
And that's how Dick became one of the great lead alto players of all time. That was it, right?
Yeah, I
He
think
didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to
You know,
do
he's
it.
a guitar player.
Like he didn't want to play
I
baritone.
didn't want to play baritone, but I mean, it's like, you know, this stuff, just life is weird. Just, you know.
Yeah, and I remember like it was the same thing with Faddis. You suggested me to Faddis, The
So
Carnegie.
anyway, this is
Band.
just saying, just, you know, be open and play all kinds of gigs, you just have no idea who's
Yeah.
gonna be listening to in the audience, and doors open and boom, you're launched. That's it, you're off.
And the good thing
It's a very
is-
organic process.
Yeah, you're supposed to put yourself on the testing, chopping block. That's the name of the game. So,
Should we play?
yeah,
So that's kinda it.